So, okay, John, this is the biggie for me. This really
Yeah.
is the biggie. It's the voice in the head. So, we're not talking about the club position. We're not talking about the stance. We're not talking about the grip. Well, we are. We're talking about your grip on reality.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting way of introducing it, Jed. Well, this is a vast subject, and the challenge that we have today is just to condense it into a little bit of a short presentation, short discussion on what's really going on, and maybe just a few ideas of how you can tackle what's going on. And it doesn't matter whether you're a club golfer or you're the world's greatest player. What happens is we all have conversations that are going on all of the time in our head, and it's how we deal with those conversations and that chatter. So let me just start off by saying give you a little bit, if you like, of scientific background to this. What happens is that we are in a conversation with ourselves all the time because we absorb about 2 million bits of information a second through our senses. And as they come into our brain, into our mind there, we filter those down, a series of filters, and we can have deletion, we can have distortion, we can have all sorts of things at a very primary level, and then beyond that, they filter down even more, and they go into our morals, our beliefs, our history, our memories, our program, all of these things, they filter down very quickly, and that 2 million bits of information comes straight out here and goes into I think 134 bits of information which create our state. And that state is actually our map of the world. We've created that through our map of the world in here. And quite often that map of the world is just imagination. It's just not real. And that map, and then that state that we've created through filtering all this information actually then creates our behavior. So that's what's happened all of the time. So when we stand on the golf course and we're in a situation that we perceive to be so, it's all because we've taken this bit of information and filtered it and created a state, and that dictates our behavior. And that's what happens every second of every day. And we can all be aware, I think, as golfers, of situations where we have a conversation. So what I want to do is just take a few examples of the situations that we have come across, all of us, I guess, in our playing lives. One is the first tee. Well, the first tee situation can be horrendous for a lot of people, can't it? And yet the shot is no different than the second tee or the third tee or the fourth tee. It's just our perception of the environment we're in when there might be one or two people around. It's the start of the game, etc., etc. And we start to get tense. But that's because of a conversation and perception that we have of where our reality is. Another one might be where we hit a ball to a certain place and we say to ourselves, I always screw it up from here. I always thin it from here. And another one, I hate this hole. I mean, what the hell's a hole got to do with it? I hate this shot. I always screw up. I can't putt. Now, the thing about all of these things is it's very rarely is it a positive. It's generally a negative. So what we have to do is first and foremost recognize that these conversations, these thoughts will come in to our mind. But the thing is, we don't have to engage with those conversations. We don't have to engage with those thoughts. They will pass. They are only thoughts, conversations. They're not real. And what we have is we have this conversation with ourselves. We bring a memory back. It's just a conversation. And then we put a picture on it, and then we add it and enhance it with colors and feelings and sensations. And what tends to happen is that if you can see that club there, because I'm on my screen, I'm just jumping around a bit, so I can't see what I'm doing. So if we have that conversation, I'm going that way. What we tend to have is we have a conversation in our head, something that happened yesterday, last week, whatever. I missed all my putts. I've missed 4 putts on the trot. I can't putt. All of those things. We get to the next situation, and we overlay the future with the past. So everything that's happened in the past. So I mean, I think every golfer that plays at Rowney should be winning the lottery every week because they predict the future half the time they're playing. What they say is, I can't putt, I hate this shot, I always thin it, oh whatever, I always go out of bounds. and they overlay the future with the past. And they have this conversation. And it was Tim Galway in his in his book, The Inner Game of Golf, which is the greatest golf book of all time. He talks about left side and right side of the brain. So we've got the left side of the brain going on, which is factual, analytical. It stimulates things, but it really assesses everything. We've got the right side of the brain, which is imagination and flair and visualization. And yet we play all the time in our left side. We should be in our right side. So we get to a shot, and our left side says, "What are you going to do here?" You say, "Well, I'm going to hit this 7-iron here, because I can get the 7-iron over the bunker." And the left side says, "Well, you know you can't hit the 7-iron that far. You always go in the bunker, don't you?" "Well, not this time. I think I'm okay." "All right, well, okay, off you go." And you go there, and you say, you go to the 7-iron, you hit it, and you're thinking, the left side says, "I can't do it. I'll show him. I'll do it." And you go in the bunker, and the left side turns around and says, "You're in the bunker. I told you so." And then your right side says, "All right, I know, I get it. You're right. I'm wrong." And you literally have that sort of conversation. So what we have to do is, first and foremost, we have to recognize they are no more than conversations. They are not real. And to tackle this, what you have to do, obviously, as we know, is we have to be in the zone, we have to be present, and we have to be in the shot. You can't be in the shot, you can't be present, you can't be playing in flow if you're having a conversation. So the first thing you do to get into a state where you are not going to accept the conversation and engage in the conversation is to get into what we call alpha state. We operate in beta state generally. Beta state is where the brain waves are doing this. They're jerking around a bit like these trousers. They're all over the place. And alpha state is where we literally go into a move like this. And we've all been in alpha state. We watch the TV in alpha state. We turn the TV on, we sit there, we just don't pay much attention to anything, we're just focused on the TV and everything else just drifts away, we're in alpha state. We've been on the motorways maybe in England, and we get to our exit and we say, "How the hell did I get here?" That's because you've been in alpha state. So get into your breath, focus on your breath, few deep breaths, literally notice where the breath is, notice how it's going in, how it's going out, and just get you into a brainwave which allows you to be in what we call alpha state. And not having these conversations. So if you are in the past or in the present or in the future, then you can't be in the present, can you? Now when I ask people where the past is, generally they'll say, "Oh, it's behind me, it's gone, it's whatever." Where I ask where the future is, "Oh, it's in front of me, it's whatever." Neither of these places are real, and yet we operate in the golf shot in one or the other and not in the present. The reason that we are not in the present is because we have these conversations. And by the way, these conversations generally are judgments. These conversations are, "I'm no good at this. I'm crap. I look an idiot. I always do this." They're very, very valued judgments, and they're never very helpful. They generally are downgrading. We feel that we're humiliated by them, etc., and they don't do much for our self-esteem and our presence and our ability to play in flow. So we've got this situation where we're in the past and we're in the future, and we need to be in the present. We have to recognize that the past and the future are no more than conversations that are going on in our head. Nothing more. They're not real. So to get in the present, what you have to do is, you know that these conversations are going to be there. You know these thoughts are going to be there. You have to let them drift away. You have to just say, "There they are. They're not real, let them go." How do I get into the present, not to have that conversation going on in my head? The way that you get into the present is to simply take a few breaths, to focus on your breaths, to get into this alpha state. And then you go into what's important right now. And the only way you can be in the present is to be in your body at that time, in that 1.5 seconds, to connect to the target, to feel the swing and flow, and to swing without trying, to swing with just enjoyment, and swing with just the sheer pleasure of experiencing that movement. It's about the experience we have at that time. So that's where we are now. One of the other things that I think is valuable to stop the conversation, to let go of the conversation, is to accept every shot, no matter what. How many times do we turn one bad shot into two bad shots? Because there'll be bad shots. And if we accept them without conditions, you're more likely not to have the damaging conversation. Isn't it enough that you've squirted one out to the right and you're in 6 inches of rough? Isn't it enough to have to play it from there, rather than to beat yourself up between now and going the 100 yards down the fairway, chuntering to yourself about the conversation, how bad you are, how poor you are, what an idiot you've looked, what a waste of an opportunity. That's irrelevant. You see, that shot doesn't define you. That shot doesn't make you a bad player or a bad person. The shot that you've just had doesn't mean the next one's got to be bad. The missed putt you had on the last hole from 3.5 feet doesn't mean you're going to miss this one. The missed putt you've had, you may not have a great putting day. It doesn't mean that you've become a bad putter or a bad person. The only thing that happens is you have this conversation with yourself and you make a judgment on yourself, and that judgment is very rarely healthy. So what we're doing is we're getting into a state where we are evening out our brain activity, going into alpha state, a few deep breaths, ease it down, and ask yourself what's important right now, and just get yourself in present and let these conversations go. Don't engage with the conversations, they're not helpful. Get really attuned and connected with the target and swing without trying to fix anything, without trying to manipulate anything. And swing with, like people say, dance if no one's looking. Well, swing as if no one's looking. It makes no difference. People don't value, don't judge you. You hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot, you hit a great shot. You know what? You hit a great shot. You don't turn around and remember that one. You only remember the bad ones. How many times have we turned around and heard people in presentations who've just shot 44 points and said, oh, I left a few out there. You know, it's just crazy. The way that we speak to ourselves, and this language goes on, and this conversation between left and right side of the brain. So the key issue is you've got to get into present. You've got to acknowledge that the space in your head for those thoughts, but they are not real. They're simply a conversation that you have. Let them go and bring yourself back to where you are in the present. Being in the present is being in your body. Being in the present, the only thing that's real at that time is the way that you're moving and the way you're sending the club through the ball to your target. It's the only thing that's important at that time. Nothing else is real. Nothing. And everything that we do, pretty much in conversation, damages ourselves. And it can happen with other people as well. Now, one of the ways, I'm getting into my flow now, you see that? One of the ways that that I think is important. Three things that I would say, 3 words that I would say you do not use when you're playing golf. One is the word why. Why did I do that? Well, you know, if you're driving down the outside lane of the M6, getting off the boat, you're going down to Manchester and you're doing 80 mile an hour on the outside lane and you lose all the power in the car and you come to a halt and you're stalling down and you don't turn around and say, oh, I wonder why that's happened, do you? What you say is, what have I got to do to get out of here? So why is not a helpful question to ask. Why have I done that? Why do I always? It's not helpful. It doesn't take you to a good place. The next one that you avoid is the word try. I'm going to try and do this. Try doesn't put any value on it. What does try mean? So you take the word try out of the conversation. And the other one is the word but. We're not going to use the word but or however, because however is a fancy word for but. We're not going to use but, because but actually takes away everything. I played great today, but. Well, you didn't play but. Great then. I putted well today, but. Substitute the word but for the word and. You know, today I did okay. And if I can, then it could even be better. I felt today in my putting, I missed some putts today, and if I can just stay a little bit more present, I think I can make more of those. So we always build up. So 3 words you don't use: and, try, and but. Take them out of the vocabulary and you're fine. So, and this brings me on to the final point I want to make on this today, Jed, is until we change the language that we use, nothing will change in our golf game. Nothing. We won't deliver the club square, we won't play with flow, we won't turn properly, we won't have stability. If you're going in here and your language is, I've got to try and hit it, I've got to go right, you're going to lose your stability. Nothing changes, nothing, until we change our language. So be kind. You know, if we spoke to our playing partners the way that we speak to ourselves on the golf course, we'd be up on charges of assault.
Ooh.
We just crucify ourselves. So unless we change the way that we talk to ourselves, that we accept the shots, and we are kinder to ourselves, and we let these conversations which are unhelpful, just let them go and bring ourselves back to the present and being in the moment and enjoying the swing for just the sheer pleasure of swinging. We get associated with our target more, we allow for the shot, and we are in there, in the present, in our body, and not having these conversations and letting go. Another one that you can do, by the way, Tiger Woods used to do this over 10 yards. I think we should do this over 5 yards because we're amateurs and we don't play, we don't have the training he has, is when you've hit a shot and it's gone, after you've walked, you look and you assess or whatever, you evaluate. All right, what could I have done better there? Oh, that was okay. And what have I got to do? All these things. You walk 5 yards and you let it go, and you've accepted the result. You've accepted what's happened. You can't change it anymore. And you just walk your 5 yards and it's gone. You've got to let go, and you've got to lose the conversation that you take with you from that position to the next shot. It doesn't help you. You are not, your performance tomorrow is not based on your performance today. Your next shot that you're going to hit is not based on what you've just done. It's based on where you can be in that moment for that shot. The fact is, the truth is, the reality is that you have made 3-foot putts, and you have made 5-foot putts, and you have made 10-foot putts, and you have chipped well. It's a ridiculous thing to say is, I never hole a putt. I cannot putt. I cannot chip. Of course you can. Of course you can. And if you get yourselves in and accept that you're not going to engage in these conversations, that they are not real, they don't represent you, if you don't get that, then nothing will change in your golf game. If you have the same conversation with the same language every time you get to the golf course, you will have the same result. And it will not take you further forward. So getting control of what's going on in here. See, people say golf's a mental game. It's not. It's a physical game. It happens out here. It happens on delivering the club. What happens is that if you don't get the state of mind right, you cannot consistently deliver the club square through the ball to target, because this conversation is going on through here. I'm going to look a fool if I miss this one. If you go this 4 foot, this is to win the. Why is a 4-foot putt to win the hole any different to a 4-foot putt in a casual game of golf? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You either hole it or you don't, but you will make every one of those putts. If you go through the process, the idea, the best chance you've got is to let go of the conversation and focus on what's important. How am I going to be? Where am I? If you're in this, there's no more room for the conversation. You can't be in a conversation, you can't be shot at the same time. Does that make sense?
This is fantastic, John. It's almost like the holy grail to enjoying your game on the links. There's so many component parts that you've brought to my attention and the attention of everyone. I do like that. It's not even a concept; it's a fact about being in the alpha state. That state of mind, yes, when you're watching TV. Unless it's something like Game of Thrones, that can be quite stressful, I guess. But if you're watching something like just something, you're in that cruise control, shall I say? And I think that can be aided and abetted on the course by just having the right preparation, isn't it? Is that you're not turning up to the tee late, your kit's all ready, you're not quite loosened up. I think just having that preparation just before going on to the first tee kind of helps things a little. So you kind of got all that rubbish out your head.
Well, let me give you. You're absolutely right, Jed. You're absolutely right. But let me give you 2 examples. And you can reframe. There's a technique called reframing. And just remind me after this reframing bit, I'll talk a little bit about associated and disassociation as well, just so unless I forget, just come back to that one for me as well. Right, I'm going to give you three examples. Well, I was with Carl Morris on a Sunday night, and it was when GMAC had won his last big competition. And a phone call, GMAC was on the phone, and they were having, I was just sitting on the side, half listening to what was going on. And what had happened was that GMAC's caddy had called Carl, said, you need to get hold of him, his putting's all over the place, There's people talking about his technique, it's not his technique. So they re-engaged, and what had happened was that Carl had asked GMAC, well, what was it you were doing that you felt that you're not doing now? And what he said was to him was, well, when I used to feel I couldn't miss a putt, I used to exhale fully, and as my last breath moved out, I let the putter go. He said, you're going to tell me to do that again? And Carl said, no, I'm not going to tell you anything. But anyway, what happened was that on that tournament which he won on the Saturday, after 14 holes, he'd had 14 single putts. 14 single putts. And in that round, he had 20 putts in the round. Going up the 15th hole, his caddy said to him, Graham, do you realise that you've had 14 single putts? My question is, do you think he had another single putt?
No.
He didn't have another single putt because he realised that, and then he was trying to single putt. But he obviously 20 putts is great. There's another story about Graham actually about on the 15th at Loch Lomond, and I've heard him tell this story, where he was leading the tournament. He gets on the par 3 15th at Loch Lomond, and all he could think about was topping the ball. He felt he was going to top the ball, and it took all of his mind skills to get out of that and bring himself back in. And of course, what you start with is with your breath. We just calm ourselves down with our breath, and that's an important thing. Even on those shots, you think, what's important now? Nice and flowing and whatever. Now, the second story I want to say is that it's a Rowney member, and Rowney member's going well, and if the Rowney member's listening, I'm not going to say any names who it was, and that Rowney member said to herself on 15th or whatever it might have been, I haven't had a 3-putt today.
That's the kiss of death.
2 of the next 3 holes, there's 3 putts. And then another one was saying to me the other week, who's a good putter, good player, just had a day on the greens where nothing went, and what the playing partner says, and playing partners say these things, she's got it quite, and we take them on board. What the playing partner said was, you haven't holed anything today. Your putting's not so good today. The putting was fine today, just didn't hold them. And what she then thought was, my putting's no good. I've lost my putting. Well, what if you reframe that? What she's saying is, you know what? Normally you just hold everything, but today's just not. You are a great putter. Today's not your putt, just not your time. And yet we can take that and flip that conversation is, I can't putt anymore. It's crazy. And now, if you want to take an evaluation of something, this is what I would also say. Final thing: if we look at ourselves and we evaluate ourselves in an associated manner. So, if we look at a shot that, let's say that we had a shot not so well. It doesn't matter if it's well or it's not. Let's assume it hasn't gone so well. If we relive that experience as if we're doing it. So we're going back into the shot and we swing, we say, oh, there it is. We are quite attached to that. We get more emotion from that. But if we were to take a step back and look at ourselves doing it, if we watched ourselves swinging, I would suggest that we're not going to have the same emotion. We're going to be far kinder to ourselves. And if we were talking to ourselves, oh, hang on, that's not so bad there. It's just that you didn't say this. And if you could do this, and if you go here, not but, and if you do that, it's going to be fun. So being disassociated, get ourselves away from it, changes our language as well. We're much kinder to ourselves if we can look at it as a third person. So take the emotion out, be more realistic, let the conversations go, get into the moment by being in your body. These conversations are not real. It's our reality. We paint a reality that's just not real. It's just a fallacy. It's our perception, our map of the world, which has been filtered through. And what we need to do is change the way that these conversations go, change the way we look at, change our map of the world on the golf course. And if we can go on with with first and foremost an acceptance of every shot, that will change our language as well. So without changing the language, nothing will change. So change the language, guys, otherwise you can't change your game. Okay.
That is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's worthy of anyone that's watching is to just watch that again. That spell that John did just really hit home, and thank you so much, John, for sharing your expertise in that particular field. Because for me, I think this is the hub of it all. For me, I'm personally speaking. I've seen so much, I've experienced so much.
Jed, it's the hub of it all for everybody. You know, this stuff that we're talking about is not the exclusive property of the people on tour or the great players. It's not. It belongs to everybody, and we can all make a massive difference. And I will say, everybody, everyone. Now, to do this, obviously, people can have things like of being not worthy, of being imposter syndrome is a massive one in golf. I'm not good enough. I mean, what language is that? Of course, it's just great. So this is, when I work with people on a one-to-one, part of what we do, always, even if they don't realise, is to change the way that they talk to themselves on the golf course, to create an environment where they are more at home with themselves and knowing what their abilities are and managing expectations. You can't manage expectations unless you change your language. You can't manage anything. You can't deliver the club.
It's fascinating, and now you're armed with this information, this golden nugget. It's worth reflecting on people that you play golf with in the past and in the games ahead, and maybe just have a look at them in a different way when things aren't going too well or when things are going great, and just reflect on, well, what state of mind are they in? What are they talking about? Is it doom and gloom? Is it, what's bright and wonderful? Isn't nature amazing? Isn't that pampas grass ridiculous? Things like that. Isn't what are those Triffids doing there on the fourth? Things like that. But yeah. I really think that I do. There's a few things. Okay, it's a few things. So some of us sometimes get a little bit agitated on the course. There might be a bit of club throwing, club slamming. There might be a bit of profanity on the course, and I'm not sure. I'm looking back in my golfing career whether that has produced any great results. I think sometimes, you might need to ramp things up a bit, go, right, I need to go in for the kill here, that sort of thing, but usually that's like a positive energy in that I'm going to do it, that kind of thing. But when you've got those doubts... Do you
think that's helpful?
Well, I'll talk from personal experience, okay? Because
do you think it was...
Because I kind of knew I was going to win. It's something, right, we can go for this now. I can really take this shot on. So I think that's a good thing. I might be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so okay.
But when I think
a lot of people can, there are extremes in both of these. We've got to get into alpha state. And if you take on there, you're not just alpha state. It's you've got to be present. Be present. You've got to be in the moment, to be in flow, to be in there. You've got to be in alpha state. You've got to be in here. You haven't got to be ahead of it. I'll take this on. I'm going to win this. It's got to be in here.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know Paul Lowey's view on this. What goes through his head when he's been winning those championships? 20 times major winner, but not just Paul, but anyone really who's had that enjoyment of not just winning a competition, but doing something. Playing well, putting a good score in, it is a great place to be in, isn't it? Mentally, when it's going well and you feel like you can see a putt and it might be 20 foot and something inside you says, you know what, I'm going to get this. I love that feeling.
But you know what? Have you ever played against anybody they've got a 15-foot putt, a 20-foot putt, and you're in the hole and you think, well, and you look at him and think he's going to hold it.
Oh yeah.
He's going to make this.
Yeah.
But, what's that about? You can see it, look, so you can sense it in somebody else. That's how strong this stuff is. This inner game's massively strong, and we just battle against ourselves all of the time. We get to the golf course and we are not in a frame of mind. We don't accept the result of the shot. We don't like the person we're playing with. The card in our hand dictates our state. It's just crazy. And we just come off the course and you know what? Have we really enjoyed it? Have we really taken every shot as an opportunity? The answer is no, because we've been having this conversation and the language we've used has not been helpful or conducive to being in that moment. And I can't stress it enough. It's more of a one-to-one thing that I have to do when we're coaching this stage. But there are some basics, aren't there, that you can take from this. And just analyse yourself as well when you go to the next time. You know, as what I've talked about, is any part of what I've talked about, is that me? Is that the way that I am on the golf course? And what is it I can do to change it? Because I'm telling everybody without a shadow of a doubt, if they manage their state better, if they have a better use of language, if they don't have this conversation going on in their heads, and just literally chattering away to themselves all the time, they will become better golfers because of it, and they will certainly get more enjoyment out of it. That's what we play the game for.
I've got a comment on the screen, and it's from Paul Lowy. So thank you, Paul,
Hi, Paul,
for chipping in. And Paul is saying that I get in my own way all the time, and I know I'm doing it, which is frustrating. So what do you think of that comment? I mean, Paul is such a high caliber golfer.
Yeah. Well, Paul, what I think of that comment, Paul needs to come and see me. He's absolutely right. We all get in our own way. That's what it's about. That conversation gets in our own way. And we're not in the process, and we're not in the moment, and it doesn't matter whether it's Paul Lowy, it's whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's the hacker on the golf course that's just started to play. We all get in our own way, and we can get situations which we allow the situation to dictate our conversation, and the situation generally is a perception of the reality, and the reality isn't, well, our perception isn't real. That's what it is. And then you start, by the way, you get in your own way because you think about how important the putt. You never get remembered for that great score or that great shot. It doesn't define you. It's not you. Everybody misses putts. Everybody shanks the ball. Everybody tops it. Just look what happened to DeChambeau, and look what happened to the Italian at Pebble Beach. They all do it. They all do it. It's life.
I think
we hang on, and it's crazy.
I think there is a place for acceptance, and again, this I'm not saying this is going to affect your shot, but I think for the start of the year, the start of the season, you need to say to yourself, look, it's not going to go my way every time. I am going to miss the odd silly putt. That's the way it is. I am going to hit a bad chip shot or knock it out of bounds, but when you do it, I think if you just got that acceptance, rather than just by your whole world caving in, and just get on with it, and just have that approach.
Jed, when the ball, Jed, has left the club face, there is nothing you can do about it. Nothing. So everything that is great in golf happens before you hit the ball. So why, if you can do nothing about it, don't we accept the result? How many times, Jed, have we hit shots in golf, and we've all done it, where we squirted one, we've skimmed one, we've thinned one, and it's gone an absolute awful shot, and then suddenly it's ended up either in the hole, hit the flag and drop, or it's ended up a couple of inches from the hole, and it's a dreadful shot. Do you know what we do with that? We laugh and we giggle at that, go away. We want to then tap it in and walk off with a smile on our face. And yet, we hit this great golf shot and it has a bad bounce. Oh, it's bounced left and whatever. And we beat ourselves up, and yet we've hit a great golf shot. And we remember that shot far more than we remember the thing that's just got us out of jail. It's crazy.
It is.
Bonkers.
And I think there's like a disposition that certain people, because there are certain people that are known as lucky golfers, aren't they? Lucky bounces. And I really like that. I really do like that. I mean, and then there are some golfers that I play with, and it's like the whole world has caved in. It's funny.
Yep.
I think from this lesson, I think anyone tuning in, if they might want to just take note of what's going in around them, what other people are doing in the game. I think just to make a few mental notes and just say, oh right, I kind of saw what was going to happen there, and just take a few notes and act on that. I think it's a good exercise.
Yeah, well, and look, ignore people's comments. I mean, I see people giving tips and advice on the golf course, and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? And what's this person doing, allowing them to get in? Now, that's the other thing. People say they got in my head. They don't get in your head. Nobody can get in your head. Only you can be in your head. If you choose not to engage, if you choose to ignore, if you choose to accept what this comment is for what it is, which is a load of bullshit. Yeah. It's an observation. Their reality is not your reality. They don't hit your golf shot. What's that got to do with it? I mean, I talk about it's like, I certainly can get in. I know if I can get in people's heads or not. I know whether I can do that. I can do that, only if they let me, though. Only if they let me. Only if they're vulnerable. That's just crazy. It's a bizarre game. But these putts that, the putts that you get in your way, when you stand over a putt, you've got a 4-foot putt, I used to make these. I used to be a good putter. What do you mean you used to be? You're still a good putter. Just get in there. Of course you can make this putt. Maybe. The only thing that's stopping you making the putt is you.
Maybe we could have another session on the secrets of match play. Maybe we could, with different scenarios. That'd be great fun.
Oh God! Yeah. Well, no. Every day's a match play, isn't it? Every day's a match play. You play against you play against yourself, and you fight yourself. So there's no point in fighting yourself. Accept yourself. Put yourself in a place where you're comfortable. Put yourself in a shot that's comfortable. Don't, look, of course you want to have a challenge and you want to be. Yeah. But you don't. You can't. You're not going to have this conversation. You're not going to have a helpful conversation with yourself if you pick a shot that you're incapable. That doesn't meet your playing skills.
Oh, it's such good fun though. It is such good fun. I wish we could play more match play. Really, have a 4-ball match play or a foursomes match play. I mean, we have the mixed foursomes, which is fun, but we've got a couple of club knockouts. We've got the Rowney Trophy, the Falcon Trophy, and the ladies have got match plays galore. I think they've got more than the men's, which is good. So get involved. Sign up for your competitions because we should have
9-hole. We should have 9-hole match plays. Of course we should. Great, get a 9-hole match play.
Oh, love it. And how that's one for David Ball. It was a. Don't mention the shank. So maybe we should have a sign at the club to say, look, if you don't know how to teach golf, don't, because you're causing much more damage. And I see it. I see a couple of members say out on the course and they're trying to instill, you need to grip it like this, you need to stand like that, you need to swing like this, and really forget it. Just let whoever you're playing with enjoy the game, let them hit the ball, let them relax, let them work it out through experience, and of course send them to John. He'll set them up.
The other thing that gets me about that scenario, and I do find first is people take it on board, I've got to do this, and then they get there, they're talking to themselves about it all the time, they're not in so that's crazy, but they haven't invited the person to pass that comment. They haven't asked them, what do they think? Yeah. They haven't asked them. Why would they ask them? It's just unhelpful, but then we allow that conversation to go. That's the key thing. We are in control of what we want to talk about and how that now we cannot have that conversation going on up the fairway from hole to hole, from shot to shot. We cannot have the conversation in the swing. We cannot do it. And once that conversation goes on, you're swinging with avoidance, or you're swinging with trying to fix something, you're trying to swing with manipulate something, you've got to be present. You can't be present with a conversation Being present is being in the moment. Being present is being in your body. The conversations, the thoughts are going to come in. Just let them go. You don't have to engage. They are not helpful. You know they're there. Let them go. Play in the right side of the brain. Play with visualization. Play with feel. Play with flair. Play with what you see. Let the left side go. Don't engage in the conversation with the left side of the brain. Left side of the brain ain't going to help you.
Well, I think our brains are scrambled with all that fantastic information. That is one of my favourite lessons. What I'll do, John, I'll chop it down and we'll have it on YouTube. So we've got the salient points. But thank you so much. It's brilliant. I'll just run through the competition. It was nice to get Jenny Costain saying it's been a beautiful day up at Rowley. Just finished a dawn 9 holes. Good on you, Jenny.
Oh, well done.
We've got a number of answers in for the quiz, and this winner is going to be identified as, I think it's going to go to Jack Kamada. There you go. So there's the ball. It's another ball, and this is a new one. So there you go. It's been personalised, handcrafted.
Are you saying that the rest that you've given away weren't you, Jed? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, we had that old one that Ron Strathdean.
Right.
Yeah, Ron won that one,
wasn't it?
It's a bit of an old relic, and so's the ball. But there we go. I think we'll just wind it up. It's been absolutely fantastic, but I think that's been my favourite lesson so far. So if you've got any more comments, please chip in, and we'll meet again tomorrow at 8:30. I'll have to find some more prizes. The cupboard is running out of stock. So should we?
What are we talking about tomorrow? What are we talking about tomorrow, Jed? I genuinely don't know, guys. I haven't got a clue. I get up in the morning and I haven't got a clue what we're doing.
We are talking about something that is on my list that I'm trying to find now. Oh, here we go. It's going to be about... Oh, the internet is so slow at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, here we go. Oh,
I'll find out,
pre and post shot routines. Post shot routines. And you know what? I love post shot routines. I love it. I love to watch people on what their preparation is. It's like
post shot routine, Jed. Post shot routine.
Pre.
Terrible hat. There we go.
But just the routine before the shot, and I'm not joking. Over the years.
Yeah, but it's what your routine is doing, Jed. It's what you're going to get from your routine. So that'll be interesting, hopefully, tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pam Parfit. Excellent information for life and not just golf. How about that? What a way to finish. This isn't just about golf. It's your life.
What was the answer, by the way, Jed? What was the answer? Was it?
Oh,
what was the answer for the...
Oh, yes, the answer for what we need to remove from Rowney Golf Club, along with other garden centre-like vegetation, and replace with more native, natural green stuff, it was pampas grass. Okay, which is probably like...
Sorry, Jed, is there a... Is there a the Latin name for that? Is it Pampas irrelevantus, or is it Pampas inappropriatus?
Pampas grotescus. It is. That's what it is. All the way from Argentina, I think, isn't it? Must be. Or is it Chile?
No,
Chile.
Kirby
Garden Centre. Right. Get it dug out. Get rid of it. Right. Okay. Right. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, he's put the window through.
All right, take care. Cheers.